Hey everyone, today we're going to learn a beginner version of I'll Be by Edwin McCain. We'll go through the chords used throughout the song so that we're familiar and comfortable with using them, and then move into how the song is played. Now the first thing you want to do before you start playing guitar is to be sure that your guitar is in tune. I suggest using a digital tuner so that you get in perfect tuning. Today's song is going to be played in standard tuning. Another thing that you really want to do when you play guitar is cut your fingernails nice and short so that when you press onto the frets you don't get any unnecessary buzzing or muting of the strings. Another thing we're going to do before we start is we're going to number our fingers so that when I describe to you which fingers to use to form each chord, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So finger number 1 is going to be our index finger, finger number 2 is your middle finger number 3 is our ring finger, and finger number 4 is our pinky. Now let's move into the chords used throughout the song. Okay, now there are 5 main chords used throughout the song. There are 3 standard ones, and then there's 2 extras that are used throughout the bridge. Now 2 of these chords are bar chords, and I know they may be a little bit difficult, but I promise if you practice you'll get them just fine. So the first chord, and don't worry, we're going to go through these in detail in just 1 minute. The first chord is going to be a B suspend 4, which is this one here. The next one is a regular E. Another one is the F sharp bar chord. This one might be a little bit difficult. The next one is a G sharp minor bar chord, which is played up here onto the 4th fret. And then the very final one is the A suspend 2. Okay, now we'll move into the first one, the B suspend 4.
B suspend 4 is in the form of a power chord and uses 3 fingers.
Alright, so this first chord we're going to use is going to be the B suspend 4, which is going to use fingers number 1, 3, and 4. Okay, so we're going to place finger number 1 here onto the 2nd fret of the A string, like so. Finger number 3 is going to come down here onto the D string on the 4th fret. Then finger number 4 is going to go right below it on the 4th fret as well, but on the G string. We're not going to play our big E string, but we're going to play our B and high E string open. So our hand's going to be lifted up, like so, okay? And the B suspend 4 will sound like this. What I'm doing is I'm just touching with my number 1 finger here, just a little bit onto the E string. Hear that? Okay. And the next chord we're going to learn is an E.
The next chord is the E chord. The E chord is used with 3 fingers, and you can also interchange this chord using different fingers.
Okay, so our basic E chord is going to use fingers number 1, 2, and 3, but for the purpose of this song, we're going to learn how to play it 2 different ways, okay? First, we'll learn the way we just said with fingers number 1, 2, and 3, and it will look like this. Finger number 1 is going to go onto the G string on the 1st fret. Finger number 2 and 3 are going to go on the 2nd fret of the A and the D string. And our E will sound like this. But because we want to be strategic in the way we use our chords, when we're doing the chord progressions, it's also easier if on one part of the song we use our E chord like this, and the other one we use fingers number 2, 3, and 4 to form the chord, which means we'll replace finger 1 with finger 2, and then finger 2 and 3 with fingers number 3 and 4, like so. Same chord, just different fingers. Okay? Now when we get into the song, I'll show you why we're going to do this. The next chord we're going to learn is the F sharp.
The F sharp major bar chord is identical to the F bar chord except 1 fret higher.
So the F sharp's a little bit difficult. It's a bar chord, so we're going to have to use finger number 1 to bar all the strings on the 2nd fret, like so. Okay? Then fingers number 2, 3, and 4 are going to be doing their job in the form of an E, which is like this. So finger number 3 we'll start with is going to go onto the 4th fret of the A string. Okay? Finger number 4 is going to come here onto the 4th fret of the D string. And then finger number 2 down here in the middle is going to go onto the 3rd fret of our G string. Okay, so they're going to be like so. And then finger number 1 has to go across all these strings, okay? And then our F sharp should sound like this. Alright? The next one we're going to learn is the G sharp minor.
The G sharp minor bar chord is exactly like the G minor bar chord except up 1 fret.
Alright, so the G sharp minor, our G note is right here on our big E string on the 3rd fret. So to play a G sharp, we have to move up to the 4th fret. Now this G sharp minor is also a bar chord. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but I'm sure you'll get it. So what we're going to do is finger number 1 is going to bar all the 4th fret. Okay? And then finger number 2 this time is not going to be used. Finger number 3 and 4, however, is. So finger number 3 is going to go onto the 6th fret of the A string, and then finger number 4 is going to go right below it onto the 6th fret of the D string. Okay? Put them like that. Finger number 2 doesn't do anything, and then we bar all the 4th fret with our first finger. Our G sharp minor should sound like this. Okay? The next one we're going to learn is going to be the A suspend 2.
A suspend 2 is almost exactly like an A or an A minor chord, except it only uses 2 fingers.
Alright, so the A suspend 2, you can use any 2 fingers you want. The fingers I like to use is my 2nd and 3rd, so that's what I'll teach you how to do. So for the A suspend 2, we're going to use our finger number 2. It's going to be placed on to the 2nd fret of the D string. Okay? Then finger number 3 is going to come right down here below it onto the 2nd fret of our G string. Okay? And then I usually put my thumb up here just to touch the E string because we're going to try not to play it. If you play it, it'll be okay. You won't really notice it, but the proper way is to not play that string. So we want to play all the bottom strings, the 5 bottom strings that is, and it should sound like this. Okay? Now, let's move into how the song is played. Okay guys, there's several parts of this song. This song does include an intro. It has a verse, which I will break up into 2 different parts, a chorus and a bridge. So first what we're going to do is the intro, of course, because it's the beginning of the song. And the intro only has 2 different chords, okay? The 2 chords we're going to use is the B suspend 4 and the E, okay? So we're going to start on the B suspend 4, okay? Which is played like this. And then he goes from the B suspend 4 to an E. And we're going to play the E in the first way that we learned it with our fingers number 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to explain to you why we're going to do this, because when we switch, when we're in our B suspend 4 form, if we look at where our fingers are placed, finger number 3 is going to be placed exactly where it is here, but up 2 frets to form our E chord. So that's what we want to do that for, because this is about strategic placement of your fingers so that you can slide your fingers instead of lifting them off. So as you can see, if I take my 3rd finger and I slide back and forth between the 2nd and the 4th fret on our D string, it puts me in shape for both of these chords. You see that? Now that's what we're going to use the other shape for as well, which I'm going to show you when we get into the verse. So our intro goes like this in regular time. Okay, he only does it like that. Once on the B, once on the E, back to the B, back to the E, and then he's finished. So let's play this nice and slow together. On the count of 3, we'll start on the B suspend 4. We'll go nice and slow, okay? So B suspend 4, E, B suspend 4, E. And that's the intro. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Switch to the E. Back to the B suspend 4. Back to the E. Okay? Great job, guys. Don't forget about that 3rd finger. If you can keep constant pressure, just a little bit, I mean, you don't want to get your fingers tired, because if you press too hard, your hand will get fatigued. Try and keep that finger pressed down and just kind of do a slide between these chords, because that will keep you in shape and it will cause your fingers to not have to lift off so much, okay? And you'll get a little quicker on your changes. So stay, lift these ones off, slide, put these ones back down to get your E. Okay, now let's move into the first half of the verse. Okay, so the first progression in the first half of the verse, and the reason I'm going to do it in two parts here is because he does a progression 2 times, and then he switches his rhythm style with the same chords, which is the same progression, but he does it faster, and that's why I'm going to cut them into 2. So the first part is played like this, almost exactly like our intro, but there's the F sharp in there that we learned earlier. So in regular time it'll sound like this. Okay, now see what I did there? I'm using fingers number 2, 3, and 4 to play my E chord. Now I'm going to explain to you why I'm doing it like this. When we switch from our B suspend 4 to our E, our third finger here is in place. We want to keep that there, okay? We don't want to move we want to move as little fingers as possible, because that's going to make it easier for you to switch your chords. So from this position to move to the E chord, we lift everything up, keep this one down, and we slide up, put fingers number 1 and 2 down, and then we're in shape. Okay? But when we switch from our B suspend 4 to our F sharp, which is our bar chord, if you lift up this finger, fingers number 2, 3, and 4 are already in place to play a perfect E chord. All we have to do is slide them up, and then we're in shape. What this does is this saves time, and it speeds up your transition periods between your chords, okay? So what we're going to do, every time we switch from a B suspend 4 to an E, we're going to play with fingers number 1, 2, and 3. And then every time we switch from our F sharp to our E, we're going to use fingers number 2, 3, and 4. Because that's the quickest way to get into the chord, okay? Now this is going to be key for you guys getting a little bit of speed, switching between chords and being clean. Because if you move less fingers, there's less chance that you're going to make a mistake, okay? So in regular time, let's play this together. So again, it's going to be a B, E, the B again, and then the transition from the first B to the E is going to be cut in half. We're going to switch to a F sharp to our E, okay? Let's play that nice and slow together here on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. To the E. Back to the B. To the F sharp. To the E. Okay? Now that progression there is played 2 times, okay? So practice that on your own. Remember, it's going to be times 2, okay? Just so you remember what it sounds like. Now I'm going to move on to the second half of the verse. Don't forget to practice that part, because the second half of the verse is going to be the same chords, but it's going to be quicker. And we kind of do a backtracking, as I told you before in another video. And I'll show you exactly how to do it right now. Now this next part's a little bit quicker. Now to remember how to start playing this part, which is halfway through the verse, it's when he says, "Tell me that we belong together." It's when he kicks into that line. In both verses, the second half of the verse he sings the same words. So it's a good indication that when you start singing those words, or if you're trying to play along, once he says that, you know you need to come into this quicker progression rather than the first half of the verse. Okay, now in regular time it's going to sound like this. And remember, this is the part where he says, "Tell me that we belong together." Okay, and he goes like this. Okay, he does that twice. Actually, sorry, 3 times. He does it 3 times. So that part we're going to learn, which is, he goes a B suspend 4, then a quick shift to the F sharp, then another quick shift to the E, which we're going to use our second version of our E with finger use. And like I said, he does a backtrack where instead of going back to the B suspend 4, he goes from the E back to the F sharp. Now don't forget, when we're in this form, all we have to do is slide these 3 fingers back up. We're already in shape. Put your first finger down. This is going to make it much easier and much quicker for you to switch between your chords. Okay? So when we go from the E at that point We go back to the F sharp, and then back to the B. F sharp, E, F sharp. Okay? Now let's play that nice and slow together. We'll go through it on the count of 3. Here we go. Nice and slow, guys. Remember, B suspend 4, F sharp, E, F sharp. We'll just play it once just so you can get it. But remember, he plays this part 3 times. Okay? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. F sharp, E, back to the F sharp. Let's do it one more time. B, F sharp, E, F sharp. Okay, so that was 2 times we just did it. He plays it 3 times in the song, and this is where he goes into the chorus, okay? Okay, so after we play the second half of the verse 3 times, there's one more line. And he sings something about instead of the gallows or something. I can't remember the exact words. But when he sings the last line, he does the same chords that we did in the second half, which was the B, F sharp, E, F sharp, but he slows them down. Okay? So it sounds a little bit like this. Okay? That's the part where he says, instead of the gallows, something, 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 something. I honestly forget the words. But it's that part where he slows down the progression of the quick switches, okay? And from that point, he moves right into the chorus. Okay, so our chorus is exactly like the first half of the verse. It's absolutely no different. The progression, the speed of the changes is identical. So I'll play through it just once, just so we remember what it's like. But if you need to refer to how to play the chorus, the first half of the verse, that's exactly the same thing. So just rewind the video a little bit. Okay? And it'll sound like this. Okay? Now the end of the chorus, he ends on that B chord, the B suspend 4, because what happens after the chorus, he goes back and he plays half of the intro, which is just the B suspend 4, and then the E, okay? And then from there he goes right back into the B to do the next verse, okay? Now what we're going to do is, because all the rest of the parts of the song are the same, except for the bridge. So let's go in and take a look at the bridge. Okay, so the bridge is when we're going to use the 2 extra chords that we haven't even touched yet. The G sharp minor, which is going to be played up here, barred onto the 4th fret. Finger number 2 is not going to be used, but finger number 3 and 4 are going to be down here onto the A and the D string, okay? And it's going to sound like so. Okay? And the other one is the A suspend 2, which is up here, which is a version of the A chord. Okay? Now what happens here is when he starts playing the bridge, the first chord we're going to play is this G sharp minor, okay? Now I'll play through it once so you know exactly what it sounds like, and it's actually only 4 lines, so the progression only goes once, okay? So it sounds like this. Okay, and that's the whole thing, okay? So we use our G sharp minor at the beginning, and we're already in shape, so we slide up, take finger number 2, put it down to the F sharp, and then we keep fingers number 2, 3, and 4 in place, lift finger number 1, slide up to the E, and he strums that for a little while. Keep fingers number 3 and 4 in place, lift finger number 1, slide up, Finger number 1 goes back down. We're going to play the G sharp minor again. Slide up, put finger number 2 down, F sharp, then he goes back to the E, stays on the E while he's singing, and then switch to the A, suspend 2. And then from there, go into the F sharp. Okay? Now that's how that part's played. Now let's play that nice and slow together. We'll go through it step by step, and I'll talk you through each of the changes. So we'll start here with this F sharp minor, G sharp minor, I'm sorry. Move up to the F sharp, then to the E, then back to the G sharp minor, again to the F sharp, again to the E. We stay on the E, stay on the E, stay on the E, switch to the A, suspend 2, and then end off on our F sharp. Okay? Let's give that a try. On the count of 3, nice and slow, guys. Okay? 1, 2, 3. F sharp, E, stay on the E, stay on the E. Now we move back down, G sharp minor, to the F sharp, to the E, stay on the E, stay on the E, and we're going to change now. Go! Then to the F sharp. Okay? Now I'm going to play that one more time in regular time just so you don't get lost. Okay? It sounds like this. Okay? Now right after he does this bridge, he plays the chorus one more time, which we learned is the exact same as the first half of the verse. And then he does a little ending part, which is the exact same as the intro, which otherwise you would call it the outro. Okay? Good job, guys. Hey guys, great job learning I'll Be by Edwin McCain. Now don't forget about the strategic placements of your fingers, as that's really going to help you in the future if you figure out how to place your fingers for each chord based on the chords that you're using before or after. It's really going to help you out. Now I hope this video helped you, and if you did like it, don't forget to check out the rest of our videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have a good time.